the Health, Safe, Clean and Green Community Scrutiny Committee at Bolsover District Council. This is a public meeting being streamed live to YouTube and via the council's website. If for any reason the public can no longer hear or see the meeting over the live stream, we will adjourn the meeting until the connection has been re-established. This meeting is also being recorded. Can the facilitator confirm who is in a remote attendance, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will now read the members present at the meeting and ask them in turn to turn on their microphone when their name is called to confirm that you can see and hear the meeting, please. Councillor David Downs.
Councillor David Downs, Shirebrook South. I can see and hear everybody. Thank you.
Councillor Anne Clark. Councillor Anne Clark, you're on mute.
Sorry, transparent. Yes, Councillor Anne Clark, Bolsover Eastwood. I can hear and see everything.
Thank you. Councillor Rose Bowler.
Councillor Rose Bowler, Bolsover South Ward. Yes, I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Janet Tate.
Councillor Janet Tate, Shirebrook South. Yeah, I can see and hear everybody.
Councillor Yvonne Parkin.
Good morning. South Normanton West. I can see and hear everybody. Thank you.
Councillor Clive Mosby.
Councillor Clive Mosby, Blackwall. Yeah, I can see and hear everybody. Thank you.
Councillor Tom Munro.
Good morning, all. Yes, I'm Councillor Tom Munro, Whitwell Ward. I can hear and see everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Natalie Hoy.
Councillor Natalie Hoy, representing Clown East, and yes, I can see and hear everybody.
And Councillor Mary Dooley.
Yes, can see and hear everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, I'll now read the officers present in the meeting and their job titles. The officers present in the meeting this morning is Karen Hanson. She's the Strategic Director. Can I just ask if you can see and hear everyone?
Hello, yes, good morning, everybody. I can see and hear, no problem.
Thank you. The next officer present in the meeting is Matthew Liddy, is the Antisocial Behaviour Officer. Can you see and hear everyone?
Good morning, yes, thank you, I can see and hear everyone.
The next officer present is Deborah Wallet, the Housing Enforcement Officer. Can you see and hear everyone?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I can see and hear everybody.
The next officer present is Jonathan Tipton. He is the Outdoor Recreation Officer. Can you see and hear everyone?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, I can see and hear everybody.
The next officer present is Vicky Dawson. She is Head of Housing Management Enforcement. Can you see everyone?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I can see and hear everything fine. Thank you.
The next officer present is Carolyn Bowen. She's the Assistant Community Safety Officer. Can you see and hear everyone?
Morning, everybody. Yes, I can see and hear everybody. Thank you.
The next officer present is Sharon Ryan. She's the Domestic Violence Officer. Can you see and hear everyone?
Yes, good morning. I can see and hear everyone okay.
Also present at the meeting this morning, we have Joanne Wilson, which is the Scrutiny and Elections Officer. We have Tom Scott, which is the Governance Clerk for this meeting, and myself, Liz Robinson, I'm the Governance Facilitator. Chair, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Sorry, Liz, thank you. Can I hand over to the facilitator now to explain some of the procedures of the meeting, please?
Yes. Before we start the meeting, members are reminded of the meeting etiquette that has been circulated to them. All members should have their microphones off during the meeting unless you wish to speak and you have been called on. Members attending remotely, please leave your cameras on during the meeting. Also, for remote members to request to speak, please use the chat function to type speak or raise your hand on camera. The chair will then call on you to speak during the discussion debate. When a vote is to be taken, this will be by show of hands. Those attending remotely, please ensure your hand is visible on camera. If any member is disconnected from the meeting, please try to rejoin as quickly as possible. If you have any technical difficulties, please contact one of the support officers assigned to this meeting in my email to you. If you were about to speak, the meeting will wait a few moments for you to join the meeting again. Chair, I will hand back to you to start the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Right, so we'll go on from the agenda now then. So item 1, apologies for absence. And I've had an email this morning from Dexter Bullock. He can't make it, he's at school having to do the lateral flow tests with the children. Is there any more apologies, Tom?
Yeah. We haven't received any more apologies, Chair, apart from Councillor Dexter Bullock.
Thank you.
Can I just give Councillor Sandra Peake's apologies, please, Chair?
Yeah, that's fine, Mary, thank you. Right, so item 2 then, urgent items of business. And I've not got any urgent items of business. So we can move on to item 3, which is declarations of interests. As per usual practice, could I ask if there are any declarations of interests to be made for today's meeting? Then we follow the proper process and procedure that we're all aware of.
Chair, I'll just, I'm obviously under County Council, and I know there's references within the report where I'm taking with to DCC and whatever. So I don't know whether I need to declare, but I'll do it just to be on the safe side.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mosby. Item 4, minutes of the last meeting held on the 2nd of February 2021, and you can find those minutes on pages 5 to 9. So if we go through them, page 5, is there any matters arising? Page 6, page 7, page 8, and page 9. I'd like to move these as a true record, an accurate record of the meeting. Could I have a seconder, please? And Liz, I can't see all the screen, so I don't know who's putting hands up.
Okay, Councillor Tom Munro put his hand up first, Chair.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Tom Munro. Thank you for that. So all those in favour, like to raise your hands, please. Again, I can't see Liz. So.
Yeah, that's all in favour, Chair.
Lovely, thank you. Right, so moving on then to item 5, which is list of key decisions. And you'll find them from pages 10. So the link to the most recent list of forthcoming decisions can be found on page 10 of the agenda pack on the committee software system. Could I ask the scrutiny officer to brief members on the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. There were a number of items on the current list of key decisions. We have an item in relation to the new build scheme at Whitwell, Sandy Lane and Thorpe Avenue. That actually went to executive just a week or so ago in the February meeting. There were also a number of items set for the March meeting. There's an item on the local authority mortgage scheme. Contact officer for that is the Assistant Director for Development and Planning. There is the periodic update on corporate debt and the write-off amounts. The officer for that is the Section 151 officer, Head of Finance. We also have an update on housing and community safety. Contact officer there is the Head of Housing Management and Enforcement. And a further update on the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government Community Champions Funding Award. I believe this is a new funding stream that's come into the area, which has potentially had some feature on Bowls Over TV. Contact officer there is around the Head of Leaders Executive, Pam Brown. And there are also a couple of other items that went to February Executive. The Direct Award for External Wall Installation, that contact officer there was Head of Property Services and Housing Repairs, and the Discretionary Grant Funding Update, and the contact officer there was the Assistant Director of Development and Planning. I don't know if there are any particular questions that members have. Obviously for the papers going to the March meeting, you do still have time to speak to the relevant contact officer or portfolio holder if you have any particular queries.
Has anybody got any questions or any observations from what Joe's just explained to us?
No one's raised their hand, Chair.
Okay, I'd like to move that we note the reports, and can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Tom Munro.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is Scrutiny Committee Work Programme. And we'll consider the work programme for the coming year. And again, I'll pass over to Joe, the Scrutiny Officer, to talk us through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we are taking this slightly out of our normal sync today to accommodate the main item. So we're doing this slightly earlier in the agenda. If I could draw members' attention to the appendix. We only have 2 meetings left now for this municipal year. This meeting where we're doing our annual review of the Community Safety Partnership, and a further meeting on the 25th of May where we'll be looking at Q4 performance. We are still looking at our review work, which we've just commenced, and I can update on that further in the informal sessions. Do members have anything else that they would like to look to fit into the timetable for the remainder of the year, or items they'd like to suggest for the coming year? We will look in more detail at the coming year in due course, but obviously having only just started our review work, we probably aren't looking for new topics at this stage.
I wouldn't have thought so at the minute. Can I move that the recommendations at point 6 within the report, pages 12 of your papers? And again, can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor
Thank you,
Natalie
Councillor.
Hodge.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, I can't speak. Sorry. Right, moving on to item 7, and this is the annual review of Bolsover Community Safety Partnership. So we now move to our annual review of the community safety, which falls within the remits of this committee, as acknowledged within the lead report. We have a number of officers present today to update members on both recent and planned activity. This includes service delivery during the pandemic, and obviously due to the coronavirus restrictions, it has been more complex to engage partners with this piece of work this year. So we are looking to complete a further piece of work during the next municipal year, once we can move more easily and meet with partner agencies again. Sorry. To complicate things further, we will need to complete part of this review in public session and part within private session. If we could start with the public element of this item, looking at the overview of the partnership and the revised drafts of the community safety plan, before moving to the exempt items. If I can pass over to Karen Hanson, please, as lead director. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, my name is Karen Hanson and I'm the Strategic Director for Environment and Enforcement. And every year we present to you an update around the Community Safety Partnership, an annual review. And as the Chair has just mentioned, it's normally a very interactive session. We normally bring several partners along with us into the council chamber. And unfortunately, we're not able to do that this year. We have received apologies from the police. They really would like to be part of this session this morning, but unfortunately they have a meeting that an awful lot of the senior officers are attending, and they also have a new partnerships team, and they were hoping to send somebody along, but unfortunately that hasn't been possible. But if we do have some kind of mid-term review in, say, 6 months, I'm sure we'll be able to bring more partners to the meeting to enable you to undertake some more work in relation to community safety. Is it possible to have my presentation loaded, please? Can somebody share the screen? Is that you, Tom?
I'll just share that on the screen now in a second for you, Karen.
Thank you. Just whilst Tom's doing that, the format for this morning, there's several of us that want to talk through various aspects of community safety work that's been ongoing over the last 12 months. So I'm going to provide a very quick overview of the role of the Community Safety Partnership and the requirements, the statutory requirements of the partnership. I've just got 4 or 5 slides in relation to that. And then I'm going to quickly talk through the refresh of the Community Safety Plan, the partnership plan. Following that, we then have a further 3 or 4 speakers for you this morning to talk through some more specific issues, particularly around the performance data that you've got in your packs, domestic abuse and what's been happening, because you'll be aware under lockdown we have seen some spikes in domestic abuse nationally because of the lockdown situation. So we thought it would be really interesting to bring you an update in relation to that. Also, some of our other bits and pieces that we've been undertaking around extreme wheels and the work that we've been doing around antisocial behaviour, and some specific issues in relation to that as well. So I'm not going to dwell too long on my bit. I'm just going to do a quick intro for you and then we'll go straight into the detail, if that's okay. So if you can just turn the slide over for me, please, Tom. Thank you.
Hey, Liz, Karen's frozen, or have we all frozen?
No, I believe that it's just Karen Hansen that's frozen, Chair.
It's a statutory partnership.
Sorry, Karen.
Yeah.
You did freeze for a minute. Well, for a few seconds. I don't know if you want to restart, please.
Okay. No
Sorry
problem
about
at all. So that's absolutely fine. What I was saying was that every council is required to have a community safety partnership. It's always useful to have a quick recap of the reasons why we have to have the meeting that we're in this morning, just in terms of the annual review and the performance of the partnership. Partnerships were created in 1998 under the Crime and Disorder Act, and as I mentioned earlier, there's a statutory role. There's a ream of responsible authorities that have to attend the partnership and have a statutory place within it, and that includes the council, the police, the fire and rescue service, the health services, and also probation. And the general ethos behind community safety partnerships is really the fact that no single agency, even the police, to be fair, can be responsible for dealing with community safety issues, crime and disorder across the whole district, and it must be a partnership response, that these agencies are required to work together to deal with complex community safety issues to address more effectively and efficiently through working in partnership. Okay, Tom, can you just turn that over for me, please? Next slide. Thank you. So there's a joint responsibility to develop and implement a strategy for the reduction of crime and disorder in the area. Early and sustained intervention by partner agencies can reduce and resolve many community safety issues faced by local people. And there's a recognition that people need access to community safety staff, to particularly council staff working at a very, very local level, to be able to feed in information and receive advice and guidance in relation to community safety issues and community tensions in their areas. And then finally, Section 17 of the Act states that all relevant authorities have a duty to do everything they can to reasonably prevent crime and disorder and antisocial behaviour. So in every aspect of our work, not just in community safety, but every aspect of the council's work, we should be considering how that may impact on crime and disorder across the district. Thanks, Tom. Okay, so the responsibilities of the Community Safety Partnership are also to agree the strategic direction and to develop a partnership plan, which I'll come on to in just a second. The partnership also monitors performance against priorities and is accountable within the 2-tier system that we're in to the Safer Communities Board, which is run by Derbyshire County Council. I attend the Community Safety Board, the Safer Communities Board, along with Councillor Moseby as portfolio holder. The meetings are quarterly. They're very high-level strategic meetings that talk about a whole range of community safety strategies and partnership responses across the whole of the county. And then underneath that work, we have a series of action groups, and they're the groups that actually deliver the thematic work. And we'll talk about the themes in just a second around the partnership plan. And the idea there is that people around the table will get together on a regular basis to share knowledge, information, and agree work plans, particularly using data, evidence, and analysis really to guide where the partnership needs to put its resources and its work. Okay, thanks, Tom. So just before we go any further, you'll see there's quite a few officers in attendance this morning. There's a lot of investment by the council in relation to community safety, and that's really just to make sure that we have the right focus. And you'll be aware within the leaders' ambition, there's also a lot of focus around joined up working, joined up enforcement between community safety, the antisocial behaviour teams and the environmental health team, particularly around some of the cleaner, greener aspects. Things like fly tipping, dog fouling, and some of those areas where we see persistent offenders and really want to be able to clean up the district for the residents. So we do make a significant investment into resources to make sure that we get the balance right and that we're able to respond where required, either to prevent or to enforce against some of the crime that we see in the area and the community safety issues. So listed there on the screen, we've got a range of team members. So we've got a brand new head of housing management enforcement, Vicky. She started with us in the middle of last year and is really getting to grips with how we're going to run community safety in the future, particularly around the joined up approach with enforcement. We also have our housing enforcement manager with us, Deborah, and she'll be available for any questions if you've got anything that you want to ask later on. Can you still hear me? Yeah, my computer's telling me that the internet's a bit unstable. Okay, then we also have community safety officer, assistant community safety officer, an independent domestic violence advocate or advisor, senior parenting practitioner, antisocial behaviour caseworkers, and also the CAN rangers, who obviously are a really, really useful resource for the council and for the public in general across a range of issues. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So just moving on then to the partnership plan. The partnership plan was presented to you last year in the annual review. It's a 3-year plan from 2020 through to 2023 with a very light touch annual refresh each year. So the partnership plan priorities haven't changed. They remain as they were, and they're in your pack that you've received, and you'll have a copy of the draft plan at your appendix. The priorities are as on the screen. So reducing and managing antisocial behaviour remains a very high area of focus. Reducing domestic abuse, violent crime and sexual offences, preventing violent extremism, reducing and preventing acquisitive crime, reducing alcohol and substance misuse, reducing the risk of child exploitation, and then also building confident and cohesive communities. What we've done this year is we've added an update to the plan. So you'll see in your paperwork that there are various aspects that have been updated, particularly around the data. I don't want to, at this moment in time, go into the data too much because later on in your pack and within the presentations, we will be taking you through in the private session the performance and the data for the last year. So in this session, really, all I wanted to do was just explain that the partnership priorities haven't changed too much. You'll probably be aware the impact of COVID-19 and the lockdown, probably from the national news, that some crimes have reduced significantly, as you would expect, with the lockdown situation, particularly around acquisitive crime and some of the antisocial behaviour aspects. Other areas have also increased significantly, and you'll hear from Sharon in a while in relation to domestic abuse and what impact that's had. So we have had a very different year this year. Things have been very kind of turned on their head in relation to the types of things that we're seeing coming through and how that's impacting on communities generally. Okay, in the plan, in your packs, we've also added a further column which says outcomes and statistical evidence, and that really is just explaining what's happened over the last 12 months in relation to activity on the ground. So you'll see there that there's been a lot of activities, quite a lot of engagement taking place, whether it be through CAN Rangers work, through the kind of body cameras and the enforcement that we've moved forward this year, but also quite a lot of digital stuff. We've had a digital parenting course that's been created whilst we're in lockdown, which will be really useful as we move forward over the next few years of this plan. We're continuing with target hardening, so issues that we need to comply with. We continue to make sure that people feel safe in their own homes, provide advice and guidance, particularly where required when we're asked specific issues that crop up. And we also still have, and we're really grateful for our community input and volunteers. We have 139 neighbourhood watch schemes across the district, which is still ongoing. And the police have also set up a rural crime team, which has been really useful, that we are working in and linking in with quite significantly around aspects of rural crime. You'll be aware, I don't know whether you saw the television programme last night, around aspects to do with fly tipping and waste. That is an issue nationally, and I think that with our new focus on enhanced enforcement as we work through the next 12 to 18 months, and the work that we want to do within the teams, we are really going to be putting a lot of effort around some of that more rural crime, around those aspects which really impact on people's quality of life. And then finally, in the packs, you'll see that there's a section on safeguarding, and that pulls together 4 aspects around the Community Safety Partnership Plan, particularly around domestic abuse, the prevent agenda, reducing alcohol and substance misuse, and reducing the risk of child exploitation. And work has continued with our colleagues at the County Council around all of those safeguarding aspects to make sure that nobody is left out, and that the risks aren't increased, particularly to our members of the public across the district. I think that's it from me in terms of an introduction to what you can expect with the rest of the session this morning. And I think we now need to move on to the next session, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Just before we move on, has anybody got any questions on what Karen's just said, or any observations that they'd like to raise?
Councillor Clive Mosby, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Mosby, if you'd like to speak, please.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Bless you. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Karen, for that the good introduction to it. I think I'll just pick up on rural crime bits. I do believe that obviously, Police and Crime Commission within this policing plan and everything, both last year and again this year, are focusing on rural crime within it. And I do believe that Derbyshire, because Derbyshire has got one of the largest rural crime teams, I think, in police forces across the country. And it is important, I think, on that, especially as you've mentioned, fly tipping and that sort of, antisocial activity that is going across all our district. I mean, I'm sure our contact centre is daily getting quite a few requests, and certainly I've put 2 or 3 through as a result of, just walking around. So I do just want to emphasise, the work that we do with PCC and that's a force on this rural crime issue. So just want to pick that up. Cheers, David.
Thank you, Councillor Mosby, for that.
So Councillor Mary Dooley would like to ask a question, please.
Yeah, I have on that screen. I did see Councillor Dooley.
It's all right, David.
No problem.
Yeah, I'd like to say a personal thank you on behalf of residents round where we've just had a closure order in Pinkston. I'd like to thank Deborah and her team for getting the closure order on a house in Pinkston recently. I was aware of the difficulties this property, so I would personally like to thank her and her team for sticking with it, the problem, and seeing it through. So thanks, Deborah and her team.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you for that.
Thanks,
Councillor
Deborah. Thank
Councillor
you.
Councillor Munro. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Monroe, you're on mute.
Be patient. Thank you.
There we go.
Sometimes the unmute isn't as quick as you think. Okay, I just wanted to flag up, and first of all, thank you, Karen, for your introduction. I just wanted to raise the status, perhaps, and raise awareness of the importance of can rangers. I have had to resort to using can rangers in my role as one of the local ward members on several occasions in the last couple of months, and on each occasion the response has been as good as instant. One call to the mobile number, and if they weren't available, they were back in touch literally within 2 or 3 minutes. And when they then went to get involved in investigating whatever the incident was that I reported, they acted extremely quickly. They involved the local police, and on both occasions when I had to involve them, appropriately the various people who were causing, in this case, antisocial behaviour, and in one case, an attempted accusative crime. They involved the local police, action was taken, and further crime was prevented. And I think we are so lucky to have the phenomenal service of Karen Rangers. I just wanted to flag that up, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Monroe. Echo those thoughts, really do. Sorry, Councillor Tate.
Yeah, I'd just like to, same as you, David, echo what Tom said. I found the Cam Rangers to be invaluable, and I've reported 1 or 2 incidents for Deborah, who's passed it on to them, and they've acted instantly and phoned at 9, 10 o'clock at night to give me an update, and they're really doing a grand job. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tate. Has anybody got anything else on Karen's introduction or any other comments?
Deborah Wallet would like to speak, please, Chair.
Hi, I'd just like to thank you for those lovely comments, and I'll make sure that they certainly get passed back to the Rangers, and they really do appreciate it when they get positive feedback. So I'll certainly make sure that happens. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Deborah, for that. Yeah. Right,
Councillor Rose, sorry, Chair. Councillor Rose Bowler would like to speak, please.
Sorry, Councillor Bowler. I can't see everybody on the screen, you see, so I'm ready to move on, and then a hand pops somewhere and I can't see it. So
It's all right,
sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what Karen said about the different types of crime and how it's altered. But we're going with news nationally, and I'm not too sure about locally. The new one is dog theft. Are we having any reports of this?
Well, if I can try and answer that, I'm a dog owner, and I also have really big concerns about it. There's an awful lot spreading and circulating on social media, particularly. We have raised it, actually. I have raised it, and I've issued, I requested some communications around it, some comms, just asking people to be really careful. I think the next thing that we need to do potentially is, in the next one of our community safety partnership meetings, is we'll put that on the agenda to speak to the police about, to find out exactly what is happening locally, because sometimes we hear an awful lot nationally on social media, but we don't have exactly the same local experiences. So we will put it onto the agenda for the next meeting. We'll ask the police what they're hearing and back, and what reports they've had of dog theft and related issues, and we'll get back to you via Joe Wilson, if that's okay, and let you know exactly what is happening on the ground in relation to dog thefts.
Thank you, Karen, for that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Karen. That would be appreciated. Thank you for that, Rose. Right, can we move to item 8 now then, or is there any other hands up?
No more questions, Chair.
Thank you, Liz. So we'll move to item 8, which is exclusion of the public. So we will now move to exempt elements of the community safety review to be taken under item 9 of the agenda. This will include discussions of sensitive and exempt information. So I move that the public be excluded from the meetings during the discussion of the following items of business to avoid the disclosure to them of exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, as amended by the Local Government Access to Information and Variation Order 2006. And I would need a seconder for this, please.
Councillor Tom Munro, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. The live stream will now be terminated because this is the last item on the agenda within the public part of the meeting, and members will then discuss the exempt reports. I thank you all for watching, and we look forward to the next meeting with you. Thank you.